Imagine a world where your thoughts aren't just, stuck inside your head.
Hmm.
What if you could pick up an object and actually sense its history? Or even, I don't know, catch glimpses of what's coming?
Yeah.
And what if unlocking all that wasn't about some external magic, but something already inside you, just waiting to be developed?
It's a really compelling idea, isn't it? And that's what we're diving into today. We're looking at psychic powers, specifically through the lens of Herward Carrington's book, Your Psychic Powers and How to Develop Them.
Right, Carrington. And what's really interesting, maybe even a bit unusual about his approach, is how upfront he is. He's not saying, this is all gospel truth, believe me.
Not at all. He specifically says he's presenting the traditional theories you find in psychical research and spiritualist circles. He adopts their hypothesis, assumes a spiritual world exists, communication's possible purely for the sake of argument, to explore it all.
So he's basically inviting us and you listening to come along, explore the phenomena, but keep your own judgment switched on. Use your common sense.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack Carrington's actual instructions, look at the range of things he describes psychic phenomena, and crucially, get into the warnings and the ethics. What does it really take, according to him?
Okay, let's get into it. Carrington makes it clear this isn't some quick fix. He starts, surprisingly, with the physical body. What's the absolute starting point for someone wanting to develop these faculties?
Well, that's what's fascinating. It's incredibly grounded, like really practical. For Carrington, top-notch physical health is non-negotiable.
Top-notch, meaning?
He means maintaining the absolute highest standard you can, cutting way back on stimulants, alcohol, tea, coffee, maybe even cutting them out completely.
Wow, okay.
Strict. Yeah, and eating less meat. He pushes for these acid fruits, pears, peaches, plums, oranges, lemons, because he believed they're juices. Cleanse the blood.
Cleanse the blood. Interesting terminology.
Definitely. And then there's daily deep breathing exercises, getting your body used to cool baths, even wearing minimal clothing so your skin can breathe better. It's like preparing your body as this finely tuned instrument.
So it's a whole lifestyle thing, not just avoiding coffee, like training for something specific. But okay, body primed. What of the line? What mental state does he say is needed?
Right. And this ties straight into self-mastery, which is a huge theme for him. The mind needs healthy exercise, but he warns against too much introspection.
Really? You'd think introspection would be key.
You would, but he says avoid constantly dwelling on your inner mental state. Instead, live outside of your head. Don't obsess over what's happening in your brain, as that causes problems. Lead a healthy, active life.
And think less about psychic stuff between sessions.
Exactly. Think about it as little as possible between the actual development times. And those sessions start short. 5-10 minutes max initially, gradually increase, but never more than maybe 20 minutes, half an hour a day. He really stresses this. Neglecting it is where dangers creep in later.
Okay, short bursts, stay active, don't overthink. And he also mentions harmony being the keynote. Why is harmony so important?
Harmony is everything, apparently. Physical, mental, spiritual harmony. He uses this analogy of tuning forks.
Ah, okay.
2 forks tuned perfectly will vibrate together across a room, right? But 1,000 slightly off-key ones won't respond at all. He thinks individuals vibrate at their own pitch. Their personality sets the rate.
So you need the right environment and attitude.
Precisely. Sympathetic surroundings, good humor, what he calls moral elevation, purity, high aspirations, altruism, these things strengthen the connection. But negative stuff like greed, pride, jealousy, they just kill the power. It's about getting yourself into this resonant state.
That connection between inner ethics and outer abilities is powerful. But then he throws a curveball, calling the subconscious mind the greatest of all stumbling blocks. Why? What's his take on the subconscious?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting, I think. He explains that older ideas had 2 minds, conscious and subconscious. But modern psychology, even then, saw it more like one mind, mostly submerged the iceberg analogy.
Right, the classic iceberg.
And the key thing is, the subconscious forgets nothing. It holds on to stuff your conscious mind lost ages ago, and it can push these memories out, sometimes forcibly and dramatically as a bombshell.
Wow. So how does that trip people up? Give me an example.
Okay, say you lost a book. You search everywhere, nothing. Then maybe a psychic gets involved, and suddenly they hear a voice or see a picture or feel guided right to it.
Yeah.
Carrington says, hold on. That could just be your own subconscious, which knew where the book was all along, externalizing that hidden memory. It's not necessarily a helpful spirit guide.
Ah, so it looks like external guidance, but it's actually internal recall dressed up.
Exactly. That's why it's the greatest stumbling block. It mimics the very thing you're looking for, but it's coming from inside you.
Okay, that definitely complicates interpreting messages.
Mm-hmm.
How does this play out, say, in a seance setting?
Well, think about it. You might unconsciously scan a newspaper headline about a friend's death. Just a glance, you don't consciously register it.
Ah.
Later, at a seance, that information comes through, seemingly from a spirit source. But Carrington would say, maybe it was just your subconscious bringing up that stored, unnoticed fact. You have to be constantly vigilant about that possibility.
Constant vigilance.
Uh,
Okay, that leads to another big warning he gives. Fear. Fear wrecks. Faith saves. How does fear mess things up in psychic development?
Fear is just the worst enemy, according to him. It's useless, obviously, but he says it's actually harmful because it can literally help create the thing you're afraid of. He quotes Job. That which I greatly feared has come upon me.
Like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Precisely. He uses Professor William James's example of the alpine climber. Hope and confidence let them make a dangerous leap. Fear, paralysis, failure. Carrington insists your will, if you exercise it, is supreme. Fear of, say, someone else telepathically influencing you, he calls that entirely illusory. Your own mind, your own will is the ultimate protection.
Healthy body, disciplined mind, courageous spirit. Quite the checklist. How do you actually cultivate that self-mastery, that inner control, beyond just telling yourself not to be scared?
The core instruction is know thyself. It's about mastering your inner forces. And this does involve introspection, but a specific kind.
Ah, okay, so not the brooding kind he warned against earlier.
Right. It's about turning your attention inward daily, consciously trying to understand your true inner being, getting past the noise of your senses to perceive the truth of things. He believes this connects you to universal energy currents, gives you power, fosters brotherhood.
And meditation fits in here too.
Yes, meditation awakens those inner senses, builds protective walls of power, and thoughts, he sees thoughts as actual things. Yeah, things with purpose and effect. They go out, they come back like boomerangs, potentially stronger, so only send out the highest and best. His strong advice is, do all this self-culture, this soul work, before you even think about developing external psychic powers.
Why the strict order?
Because mediumship, he warns, opens the doors to influence and powers over which we have little control. Without that solid inner foundation, you risk attracting harmful or lying intelligences. You need to be strong first.
Okay, foundation first. Makes sense. So, assuming someone's done the groundwork, let's get into the specific abilities. He talks about psychometry. What is that exactly?
Psychometry, the word itself means soul measuring, is basically picking up an object and getting impressions about its history or its owner.
Just for holding it.
Yeah. He mentions these experiments by a guy named Denton. His wife would hold, say, a rock from the Carboniferous period and describe ancient swamps, giant ferns, weird creatures.
Whoa.
Or a piece of lava from Hawaii, and she'd describe a boiling ocean. A meteorite fragment, and she'd talk about cosmic travel.
That's incredible. How does he explain it?
He says every object has its own psychic fluid or aura, a kind of energy signature. Sensitives can tune into that. Things worn close to the skin, like jewelry or clothing, absorb this influence strongly.
So they're better for psychometry.
Much better. He even suggests wrapping items in thin rubber cloth to preserve this influence. But he also cautions that interpreting the impressions is often largely symbolic. You need careful discernment. It's not like watching a movie replay.
Right, symbolic. So objects literally hold memories. What about seeing energy fields around people? The aura.
Indeed, the human aura. Clairvoyants always talked about seeing them, but Carrington points to a Dr. Knurr in 1911 who apparently used special chemical screens to cyan to scientifically prove they exist.
Scientifically proved back in 1911. That sounds ambitious.
It does, doesn't it? Carrington claimed he saw 3 layers. First, this darkish outline matching the body, the etheric double.
Okay.
Then an inner aura, a few inches wide, colored by health and emotions. And finally, an outer aura, wider still, shifting with mental and psychic states.
So Kerner claimed proof. How does Carrington suggest we learn to see this?
He has a whole training progression. Start simple. Look at a horseshoe magnet's aura. Then plants. He describes the violet having specific layers of blue and red light, even diamond shapes.
The violet, okay.
Then finally, human auras. Start with the chemical screens in dim light, then practice without them, gradually in brighter light, building up your sensitivity.
It's fascinating he presents Kerner's work as proof. given how little traction that seems to have gained in mainstream science since.
Well, you have to remember the context. For Carrington and the psychical research community then, Kerner's work was seen as a major validation. It fit their worldview that these subtle energies were real, part of nature, just supernormal, not supernatural. Whether modern science agrees is a different question he doesn't really tackle.
Right, it's a snapshot of belief at that time. Okay, what about telepathy? Mind-to-mind stuff. How does that work, according to Carrington?
Telepathy, or sensing at a distance, impressing thoughts on someone else without using the normal senses. He admits the exact mechanism is unknown. Some theories involved ether vibrations, others just that life can manifest itself to life.
So no single accepted theory even then?
Not really. Carrington himself leans towards it operating via the subconscious. Like thought goes from your conscious mind to your subconscious, travels to their subconscious, then pops into their conscious mind.
Ah, the subconscious again.
Yeah, often showing up as pictures, voices, feelings, especially when the conscious mind is quiet, like during sleep. He also thought spirits used telepathy, so it was a natural way for the living and the dead to communicate.
And he suggests experiments for this.
Oh, yes. Practical stuff with diagrams, playing cards, even trying to transmit sensations like pain or specific smells or tastes. And again, he stresses that a strong inner self, that self-mastery we talked about, is your best defense against unwanted telepathic intrusion.
Okay, and clairvoyance, clear seeing.
Yeah.
That seems like a really broad term.
It is. It covers a lot. Carrington lists loads of types. There's subjective clairvoyance, where spirits impress images on your brain. Objective, where you actually see spiritual beings or objects.
Like ghosts.
Potentially, yes. Then there's X-ray clairvoyance, seeing through things, diagnosing illness. Cataleptic clairvoyance, where the spirit supposedly leaves the body in trance to observe things far away.
Astral travel, basically.
Kind of, yeah. Trance control is when a spirit uses the medium's body to report what it sees. Telepathic clairvoyance is seeing distant thoughts as pictures. There's traveling clairvoyance, seeing past events, retrocognition, seeing future events, prevision or prophecy, even dowsing for water counts.
Wow, okay. And phone voyance, getting impressions over the phone.
Exactly, he includes that too. The explanations vary: special spiritual senses, spirit help, constructing astral tubes to see through, creating thought forms, or just direct perception. He figures we mostly see clairvoyantly because our brains are so visually dominant.
And exercises for this.
Visualization is key. Imagine an astral tube reaching to a friend's house. Practice intense concentration on objects, then recalling them perfectly in your mind's eye.
Okay, so assuming someone develops these senses, how do spirits actually get messages through a medium? He mentions automatic writing.
Yes, automatic writing is the big one. The medium's hand just starts writing, supposedly messages from spirits, often while they're in a deep trance. He mentions Mrs. Piper, a very famous medium, used this method a lot.
But it's not always clear messages, right?
Definitely not. Carrington warns that early attempts can be total gibberish, like dream fragments, because the medium's own subconscious is often getting mixed in.
The subconscious again.
Always the subconscious. He also mentions hearing whispers by putting a conch shell to your ear and crystal gazing, all methods prone to subconscious interference. Discernment, he says, is absolutely vital. Ignore the nonsensical stuff.
And trance seems central to a lot of this. What exactly is trance in this context? Is it safe?
Trance is the state mediums often enter to channel messages. Carrington quotes William James again, who thought mediumistic trance was different from other kinds, like hypnosis or catalepsy. It rarely involves the body rigidity you see in catalepsy.
Can anyone induce it?
It can be spontaneous or deliberately induced. The operator causing the trance could be a living person or, theoretically, a spirit. Carrington insists that if it's managed properly, it's not harmful.
And spirits control the medium in different ways during trance.
Yes, different levels of control. Telepathic is just thought to thought. Pictographic is showing images. Sense impression is conveying feelings. Then there's direct control, where the spirit actually manipulates the medium's nervous system, apparently rarer, usually in deep trance. And ecstasy is when the medium's own spirit goes traveling.
How does one enter trance safely then? He mentioned risks earlier.
He suggests gazing at a bright object, deep, regular breathing, but crucially, maintaining self-awareness. You affirm, I am I. I am strength and power. I will remain in my body. This is key to preventing loss of control.
Like keeping an anchor in your own consciousness.
Exactly. Early physical symptoms can be weird hiccups, cramps, seeing lights, even feeling sick. But with good development, it can also feel pleasant, like falling asleep upon a bed of roses.
It sounds incredibly complicated navigating all that.
Yeah.
What about the spirits? Do they find it easy to communicate through us?
Not at all, and this is fascinating. Carrington says spirits face huge difficulties. They apparently feel exhaustion and suffocation from the dense aura of our physical world. Sometimes they have to pull back just to recover.
Wow, it takes a toll on them too.
Yeah. They also struggle to keep their thoughts organized during communication. They might start out clear, but then it descends into incoherence and triviality.
Ah, the trivial messages people complain about.
Right. But Carrington argues those trivial details, the mundane stuff, are often the strongest proof of identity for loved ones. It's like catching up with an old friend. The inside jokes, the quirky habits they mention, that's what convinces you it's really them, not some grand pronouncement.
That's a great point. Like asking about that chipped blue mug only they used.
Exactly that kind of thing. It proves individuality. Another huge problem is just unfamiliarity with using someone else's body. Imagine suddenly being dropped into a different physical form and trying to talk or write.
Yeah, that would be incredibly disorienting.
So the medium's own habits, their way of speaking, naturally creep into the messages. And finally, language often just fails for non-physical concepts, so they have to use symbolism.
Symbolism, like charades.
Kind of. He gives an example. A spirit wants to convey the word watch. They might make the medium tap their stomach, then look at their hand. If the medium misinterprets those symbols, the message gets completely garbled. It's a constant translation challenge.
So much potential for things to go wrong. Which brings us to the really dark side stuff Carrington warns about. Obsession and insanity. What are these dangers?
This is where that need for self-mastery becomes critical. He warns that low and less developed spirits are just easier to contact, especially if you haven't focused your development on higher intentions.
And this can lead to serious problems.
He describes symptoms of spirit influence that sound terrifyingly like the onset of mental illness: insomnia, restlessness, a dull ache at the base of the brain, uncontrollable urges to write, hearing voices, seeing disturbing things, snakes, devils, or monstrous or grotesque living objects.
Yikes. So how do you avoid this or treat it?
Avoidance comes through that careful and systematic development, building inner strength. For treatment, he suggests prayer mainly for mental relief and attitude. Also, magnetic treatment on the etheric body.
Magnetic treatment.
Yeah, working on that energy double. But the most powerful method, he says, is getting help from reliable, ethical trance mediums whose spirit guides can actually argue with or even forcefully remove the obsessing entity.
Forcefully removed. That sounds pretty interventionist. Does he address the ethics of one spirit forcing out another?
From Carrington's viewpoint, rooted in the spiritualist thinking he's presenting, it's generally framed as a necessary benevolent act to save the suffering individual. The primary concern is the well-being of the person being obsessed. His advice, do not let him go inside his head, really emphasizes the need for external help when self-control is gone. The ethics focus on protecting the human.
Okay. Beyond direct obsession, he also mentions bad and perverted uses of psychic powers. What does he mean?
Just that any power can be misused. History is full of people using psychic abilities for evil channels. He lumps in magicians, witches, even vampires.
Vampires, like energy vampires.
He mentions a natural vampirage, people who unconsciously drain vital energy from others. He contrasts white magic, invoking angels, and black magic, invoking devils, with mediumship, which he sees as a request for help from human spirits. Witchcraft, he suggests, often involve drug-induced psychic states leading to hysteria and things like witch marks, numb spots on the skin. The evil eye gets a mention, too.
So how do you protect yourself from all that? Evil eyes and energy vampires.
Back to basics. Self-development, purity, high aspirations, altruism, inner strength. That's the shield he recommends throughout the book.
It all circles back to self-mastery. Finally, then, the ethics of spiritualism itself. He defends it as scientific, philosophical, religious. How does he counter common objections?
He takes them on directly. People say these are God's secrets. He quotes Flammarion. Some people just prefer ignorance. He argues there's nothing truly supernatural, only supernormal natural laws we don't fully grasp yet.
What about fears of superstition and fraud?
He says once you establish the facts, it becomes scientific evidence. And true spiritualists, he claims, are the first to expose fraud. If people say it causes abnormal states, he replies, that's the abuse of powers, not proper use.
And he distinguishes prophecy from fortune-telling.
Yes. Prophecy he sees as a genuine gift, maybe from your own subconscious insights, or telepathy from spirits with greater knowledge. Fortune-telling is often just superstition or misused power.
What about using these powers for personal gain? Can a medium win the lottery?
He argues strongly against that. The power, he says, is meant for helping others. Trying to use it selfishly just causes you to lose it. His conclusion is quite bold. If it's developed properly, carefully, and systematically, spiritualism is the most sensible, rational, and ethical religion in the world.
It's quite a statement. So we've gone through Carrington's whole system from extreme physical discipline and mental hygiene.
Right, through the maze of the subconscious, the specifics of psychometry, auras, telepathy, the many forms of clairvoyance.
The complexities of trance, spirit communication, symbolic language.
And crucially, those stark warnings about obsession, misuse, and the absolute necessity of self-mastery, ethics, and clear judgment. His message really hammers home that true psychic development isn't separate from personal growth. They're fundamentally linked.
It really seems the path isn't about finding a magic button, but this deep, maybe even lifelong commitment to knowing yourself, controlling yourself, and acting ethically. Carrington suggests the really advanced stuff, cosmic consciousness, power over matter, conscious astral travel, all depends entirely on building that solid ethical foundation first.
Absolutely. It's all about the inner work.
Which really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What kinds of personal preparations, what kind of inner work might we be overlooking in our own everyday lives that could potentially open doors to things we currently just dismiss as impossible, or maybe just super normal?